Hi, thanks for joining me today. My name is David Peacock, and I'm going to talk about a book that I finished. The book is called The 12 Caesars. It's by Suetonius. This is published by Heritage Press. It's a pretty nice book, good quality printing with nice print and nice paper. But that's one of the few nice things I will say about this book. It's The 12 Caesars. Suetonius is a Roman writer. I've seen this book recommended by many people, and so I thought I would take a look at it. I have a slight interest in Roman history, but I like to delve into different parts of history and slowly add to my knowledge of the story of civilization. Suetonius does the 12 Caesars. He starts with Julius Caesar and ends with Domitian. He has a very distinctive style. Now, he wrote in Roman times, and so that's one of the great values of his work. However, he has a very distinct style, which I found oppressive, and I'm going to go into that in this video. His standard pattern for each Caesar is to talk about their family, lineage, talk about the development of the Caesar, some of the military campaigns, then the Caesar takes power, maybe does some more military campaigns, and then the personal life of the Caesar. Now, Suetonius is known for getting some things right and some things wrong. He does apply a lot of hearsay, and some people call it gossip, but I found his gossip really offensive, and personally I felt he kind of crossed a moral boundary with me in describing some of the horrible behavior of these Caesars. The fact that Suetonius would treat me this way made me hate Suetonius. But I was determined to finish his book and to make a video and say what I thought. He's a fuzzy writer. For example, he uses the word lewd. Well, lewd is kind of a wide-ranging word. Lewd could be an offensive finger gesture, or lewd could be a terrible sexual violence. So I'm not really sure what he means by lewd. He really focuses on depravity. You know, YouTube has some rules on appropriate subjects for videos, and some of the things that he mentions are so heinous and disgusting and depraved. If I told you what they were, I would violate the YouTube standards for video content. But I'll give you an example of something he talks about Tiberius, who was so strong he could use his finger to puncture an apple. And the very next sentence, he says that Tiberius used his finger to break the head of a boy. Now, other YouTubers say that Suetonius gossip, but what he really, gossip to me is kind of light, provocative statements. But I mean, what Suetonius does, he tells you how these Caesars committed violent mutilation of other people. And they didn't just do it once or by accident. They did it purposely and over and over and over again. It's really sickening, the things that these Caesars did. And to think that they were the leaders of the Roman Empire, the top of the hierarchy, and they were committing this. What were other people doing? And to think that other people on YouTube idealized the Roman Empire, and yet this is what the top people in the Roman Empire were doing, is really disgusting. I really am not interested in the Roman Empire, and this has a lot to do with it, because they're just so cruel and brutal that I can't tolerate it. He kind of mushes everything together. The chronology is really poor. I would call him a amateur historian. You know, Suetonius, he seems like he takes a subject and he wants to torture it. And as a reader, I feel like he's torturing me. His Roman brutality, he takes it out on me as a reader. So towards the end, I was very frustrated with the writing, and I looked up the translator. His name's Philemon Holland. And it turns out the translator was born in 1552 and died in 1637. So that's pretty much the end of the Elizabethan age. So it explains why this book was so difficult to read, because it's written in Elizabethan English. I tell you to avoid this translation. I might actually destroy this book or throw it out, because it should not be submitted as a recommendation to anyone. There were some examples of how Suetonius wrote about things that were that were impossible to believe. Absolutely impossible to believe. For example, he talks about Claudius. Claudius, as a child, was said to be dull and enfeebled in mind and body. He had a reputation for drunkenness and dice play. His legs were feeble, failed him, and he would froth and slaver at the mouth. He had a leaky nose. He had a stammering tongue, and his head would shake and tremble. Then a few pages later, the same Claudius, he tells us that Claudius wrote a history of Julius Caesar. He wrote 2 volumes. And then of the times after Julius Caesar, he wrote 42 volumes. Then he wrote an apology of Cicero against the books of Asinius Gallus. He invented 3 new letters of the Roman alphabet. He wrote Greek histories. He wrote 20 books of an Etruscan histories. He wrote 8 books of Carthaginian histories. The same guy who was feeble, had broken legs, stammering tongue, the same guy wrote over 50 books. That's absolutely impossible to believe. I can't believe that. That's a flat out lie, a misrepresentation. Something there is incongruous. And when an author does that, presents that to me, I immediately hate them. And I hate Suetonius. Nero is chaos personified. Nero killed his mother, killed his aunt. He kind of considered himself an artist and an actor and a poet. At the same time, he refused to worship the Roman gods, and he had a puppet of a young woman who was in the hands of a mean commoner, and he worshipped a puppet of a young woman. Every day, he worshipped a puppet. The other things that he did, I can't even talk about. They're so bad. Okay, he mentions a lot of superstitions about eagles landing on shoulders and dropping snakes. He talks about Vitellis. A cock settled on his shoulder and then moved on to his head. And that was some portent of something. Another portent that he mentions, that there was a tree, there was a big tree, and there was no wind, and the tree fell down. And then the next day, the tree went back up. And then, like the next Caesar, the tree fell down again. You know, as a historian, it's just ridiculous that he would even mention these things. As far as I'm concerned, Suetonius belongs in a literary prison, and he should remain there until I can flush the memory of this book out of my mind. I try to be authentic to my feelings about books, and I hope that my next book will be much more enthusiastic and positive. Thanks for watching.